Hello guys. All right, so we are going to check today about the first consonant shift or the first Germanic shift, or in general terms, in linguistic terms, we call it Grimm's law. It sounds a bit scientific, but still, it's a bit scientific as well. You should have to understand in a scientific manner as well. So, as linguistics is the scientific study of language, we have to go in depth into detail of everything, every aspect of language. Its minute little details are also being, uh, you know, uh, you know, uh, experimented here, will be dissected here in order to understand language in that manner. So, Grimm's law. What is Grimm's law? So Grimm's law is basically about the sound shift or the changes that happen to language over the years. Grimm's law is actually propounded by a German philologist named Jacob Grimm in the 19th century, or the early 19th century, in 1822 exactly. And he was very much interested in the theory, which is not into detail, the theory propounded by Rasmus Christopher Rask, Christian Rask, in fact. So a Danish philologist again. So he had of the opinion that the language, especially the consonants, where underwent a lot of changes during the over the years, starting from the first century or the first millennium BC. That's what linguists and philologists are saying. So when it came to the 20th century, people started to understand more about it. They became very curious and anxious about what's happening around in languages, and especially in the Indo-European family of languages. As we discussed, we had something called a parent language family, and that ancestral family is called Indo-European family of language, or we call it Indo-Aryan family of language as well. So in the Indo-European family of language, we have got around 11 different branches of families there. So from the Proto-Indo-European family of language, that is the ancestral, that's the parent family of language. From there, we have different branches, 11 branches to be exactly, like, we had the Albanian family of language, the Indo-Iranian family of language, the Armenian family of language, the Balto-Slavic or Slavonic family of language is there. Then the Italian family of language, the Hellenic, which is the Greek family of language. Then we have got the Germanic family of language, the Hittite family of language, the Detroit family of language. Also, altogether we have 11 families of families are there within the central or the ancestral family of language named the Indo-European family of language. So, out of the 11 families of the branches of Indo-European family of language, we have to take into consideration only the Germanic family of language. That means 10 plus 1. So the last one we take it Germanic. From Germanic, we've got the Sanskrit or the English, the current English, and all other modern languages which we are being dealt with these days in the modern era, especially starting from India to the Europe, that stretch towards the western part, from starting from the southern hemisphere towards the northern hemisphere, stretching towards the western part of India towards Europe. So it starts from the southernmost tip of India, starting from the Dravidian languages, moving forward to Aryan languages, which stretches from North India towards Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, and some parts of Russia, the older USSR, and areas like that, including the Middle East and all. including Arabic and Urdu. So the changes that happened to these languages, as we have just mentioned, that was one. It was part of one Proto-Indo-European family of language. That means we had only one parent language, and that parent language was existed some millions of years back, probably in the first millennium or the first century BC. And that during that period we were all living together, like it was just one community. Probably that would have been the reason behind this, that people, very less population were there, and not much countries were there. We had geography is also saying that we had only one continent existed during that period. We're not sure about the exact time and period, but it is for sure that we had only one continent. And later plate tectonics and the continental drift, which took the different continents and different countries and different languages also happened. So with that single continent, we got into a single language with a less, very minute level of population there, and people started to speak each other in order to communicate each other, in order to send messages each other. And what happened was that after the division, so when the population began to expand, people started to move to different places. People started to migrate to different places way back in probably in the first century or the second century BC. So what happened was that during that period, when they started migrating into different places, they started to make changes in their language. Or it automatically came that language became it evolved in such a manner that we've got a lot of changes that took place in language, especially. And during that period, with the single parent language, that is the Indo-European family of language, that is the Indo-European or the Proto-Indo-European language, began to diversify into different branches. It started dividing into different branches, and out of the branches, we have already said that the most important, or the that or which we are focusing on, is Grimm's, based on the Grimm's law, is German or Germanic language, Germanic family of language. So in German, the base level, or the basic understanding of German during that period, if you know something about German, you will also understand the difference that happened to Sanskrit or for English as well. So out of the Germanic language, from the Germanic language, or from the German family of language, we have to understand that we have got the current level of English as well, the modern English as well. So when you take into consideration the 13th century or the 12th century English literature, so you can find a lot of difference when you compare it with the modern English. So it's like it shows like a process that regular shifting of consonants in groups that took place in the development of English over the years. So we are dealing with Germanic family of language, Germanic branch of language. And from that Germanic family of language, we are specifically focusing on English. And why is it so? Is we are dealing with English linguistics. All right. So the first sound shift affecting both English and German was from the early phonetic positions documented in the ancient or classical or Indo-European languages. The Indo-European language, in the sense, the Sanskrit, Greek, Latin, to those still evident in the Low Germanic German languages, including in English. That was the first shift. So, from ancient classical languages to the current, the modern Sanskrit or Greek or Latin, those changes. That was the first possible phonetic change that happened. But when it comes to the second shift, it affected only the High German language, that is English, specifically English. In the first shift, it was English, and not Sanskrit and Greek and Latin was there. But when it came to the second it was purely English which actually started to shift. So what we have to understand is that Jacob Grimm, the German philologist, he had actually propounded the law in the sense that that's not a law as such, but we have to understand that that should be also considered as a law in the sense that a law it gives some idea about what happened or what happened to the consonants which gradually changed over the years, and those specific details of understanding about consonant shift makes Grimm's law very eminent in the study of language or in linguistics as such. So basically, what he is saying is that the principle, the first principle of the first consonant shift of the Germanic shift or Grimm's law is actually the Indo-European voiced aspirant plosive, voiced aspirated plosive, that is b. In Sanskrit also, or in Greek also, you can say you might have come across this particular sound b. Even in all Indic languages, you can find this particular sound pa. So that pa became b in English. So pa became b. Pa has got a h sound, a puff of air sound is also there. That is the voiced aspirated plosive pa. B and h together, pa. So that pa became b, just a voiced aspirated plosive. Though that's the major difference. So in Sanskrit, if we say pradru, which means brother, is in English again brother. So pradru, pa, pradru became brother. Dr became the, b, pa became b. So those kinds of changes. That was the initial change. That was one of the changes that happened to the consonant. That was the first change. And there is another change that Jacob Grimm would like to take our notice to, our attention to, is like the dha became d. So pa became b, dha became d, and ga became g again. Ga, g. So pa, dha, g became b, d, and g. That voiced aspirated plosive became voiced unaspirated plosive. Aspirated in the sense, ha sound, the puff of air is also there, a pa. If it is unaspirated, ba. If it is aspirated, pa. Unaspirated, ba. So those kinds of change, that gradual change which happened to it was not drastic change all of a sudden, but gradually it became changed with the families of language, with the Germanic family of language. And p became f, as in German we can say, or in Sanskrit we can say pidr. Pidr means it is father in English. So p became f. P became f. By Pedro became father. Pradru became brother. So b became b, p became f. These are some of the changes. Again, coming into another example. Tenuous in Latin. Tenuous in Latin became thin in English. So tenuous. So te became th. Th. So tenuous in Latin became th or thin in English. Again, cord. Cord in Latin is a term for heart. Cord. So K became H, became H. Cord became heart. K changed to H. Another change. Another one. Baculum. Baculum is B, changed to P by peg. Peg. Baculum. So K became G as well there. So B turns to P and K turns to G. Baculum. Peg. Peg. That's the change. I have to listen carefully in order to understand these things. All right. Next one is another Latin word, that is dent. Dent. You know the term dent or dentist, something that is related to teeth. In English, we don't say dent. In English, we say teeth. So dent, teeth. So d changed to t. Dent. The end consonant became teeth. Became th. Again, aspirated plosive became. All right, and the last one which I would like to say is gel. Gel. It changed to cool. Gel is actually, there is another English term which is almost similar to this, is gel. Gel is something, that fluffy thing, which in the plasmic state, which looks cool, no? So gel is also, or gel. The Latin gel is actually cool in English. So g became k again. Okay? And in in Sanskrit again, madhu. You might have heard of this word, madhu. Madhu is a term for honey, and in English, madhu became mead, not honey, mead, something that is an extract of honey, that is mead. So madhu, d, mead. Madhu, tha became d. Madhu became mead. And ken, another term in Greek, by the way, that is ken. Ken became goose. K, the aspirated k became goose. So, and there is another interesting word which I would like to inform you. Is the word dware. The aspirated th became in English door. Dware is again that is Greek origin. Dware became door. So the became der. And from that dware, or from the early stage, if you go deep into the Dravidian languages, you can see there is a term called dwar or dwaram. In Malayalam also there is a term dwaram. So that dwaram is an entrance, is a door. So dware in Greek, in Malayalam dware or dwaram became English door. So the became der. So these kinds of changes, a lot of changes are there. And majority of the English words have these kind of, similarities or relations. They are actually relatives. Almost all of the Indian, Dravidian and Aryan languages are relatives of European languages, which you need to sit back, relax and read and find out the different changes. If you're really interested, if you have some kind of passion towards language, you will understand these changes and how it happened. You will find out the relations between the European languages and the Indic languages, the Indian, the language which is spoken in the Indian subcontinent, extending from Iran till we can say Indonesia or down south, Sri Lanka or Maldives. These are all linked together, which ultimately leads to one thing, that people were one. We had only one kind of people who lived in the world, and we're all speaking just one language. There was the Proto Indo-European language, which unfortunately changed due to the continental shift or continental drift, as the geologists or the people who study geography says. Uh, but it changed. It continues to change as well. That is one interesting thing. Maybe up to 100 years down the line, you will find a lot of difference in English as well. The modern English will definitely change after uh, possibly after 100 years. Another example which I would like to just came across one of the examples which is mentioned here. It's in Latin, pisces, 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 pis, pisces became in Gothic language. Gothic again, another Germanic language in Gothic. It became fisks, fisks, which again changed to English as fish. So pearl became pearl in both Gothic and in English as well. So peces became fisks and fishes in English, and pisks in Latin. K sound changed to k again in Gothic, and when it came to English, it became sh. So k changed to sh. So many changes that have happened to the consonants drastically. Even the silent letters, we are still using those aspirated plosives. Like for example, the WH words like where, what, who, which, when. All these terms, all these words have got the aspirated plosive there, starting with W and H. But remember, and you know that we are not supposed to pronounce, we are not supposed to articulate that h sound there. We don't say which, we don't say where, we simply say where, or which, or what. Even if it is without that H, we say what, or which, when. So that's also changed, no? It changed. The silent letters are also part of this consonant drift, consonant shift actually. H changed. So WHEN, we know that it is when, but still we have to write with the H there. So maybe possible, there is a possibility that maybe after 50 or 100 years, we might skip it off, the H. So if you still write WEN, the sense or the meaning, the signify is correct as when or what. WAT is what. So those kinds of changes. So you will come across a lot of systematic and coherent consonant changes whenever you go through language in depth actually. All right. So we're going to stop right now for with this part of Grimm's law, which is basically nothing. It's very simple. It deals with the changes that happen to the voiced consonants. The aspirated voiced consonants became aspirated voiceless consonants, and a lot of other changes like we have mentioned. All right. Thank you so much. And thanks for your attention. Have a nice day. We will deal with the Werner's law in the next session soon. Thank you.